after I made my million, I
Yeah,
was
can we talk about because I'm still 10K to a million in a year? Is that
well, maybe a year and a half.
okay?
Me and my buddy, we making all of this money. Yeah, I know it's rude to be bragging. They never catching us slacking. Me and my buddy, we
All right,
working
guys,
hard for
welcome
this
back to
money.
Table One Podcast. Things look a little bit different around here.
The Aria's changed.
Yeah, I don't think that Art and I are getting on our high horse and we're just spending all kinds of money. This is just Art's brainchild. This is good though. It's nice. It's air conditioned and no lawn chairs. But either way,
It's hot in Vegas, and the garage gets hot when I
it
have to
does.
turn the AC off.
Either
We
way,
have to go somewhere.
co-host Justin Young, other co-host Art Parman, and very special guest Huckleberry Seeds with us today. And I don't know. I'm sure we've had I think a couple different poker Hall of Famers on our pod before, but I don't know. This is pretty cool to me. I don't know. I'm just very happy that you're here with us. Thanks, man.
Nice to be here. Thanks.
Yeah.
I'm excited. I don't know where to start.
Yeah.
I guess we can start where we always do.
Yeah. So I know I've spoke to you before about our podcast. I normally do a little bit, like I'm sure you've seen everyone, but I know you haven't because you basically said like you could watch a couple minutes and it
I watched the
got it.
beginning of a couple, but I couldn't make it through to the end. But I already knew those people pretty well, so maybe that's why I couldn't get through it. Like Freddie Deeb or whoever. Everybody who's been on there, I've spent thousands of hours with playing. So
Man, yeah, we got to get some strangers on you for to watch, so you might be more enthralled. But I I don't know how long you got into it or whatever. But so typically, what we do, most of our guests, including yourself, are very intelligent people. They could have done a handful of different things with their lives, and somehow we fell into gambling slash poker, however you want to flip it. And it's usually and always to me an interesting story how we kind of make that leap into one over the other. So I typically just want to take you back to like your adolescent years or when you first got into like some kind of gambling or poker or wherever you want to flipping for quarters with your buddies. I don't know.
for me, it was more of a conscious choice to get into poker. I hated the world. I didn't like capitalism. I didn't really want to participate. Uh, you know, I guess the corporate world is, improved over the last 40, 50 years, but I don't know if you ever seen movies like Office Space but I definitely didn't want to get my soul crushed in some little cubicle. Uh, and, when I was young, I was a very, ethical person, and I really liked the egalitarian nature of poker. Anyone can go in. Doesn't matter if you're tall, short, black, white, male, female. If you've got the money to buy into the table, you come in, you put your name on the list. When they call your seat, you go on. Just it's fair for everybody. And part of the reason that I got out of poker later was that things, poker got so big, a lot of politics got involved, and then when it went to all the home games and all the politics, I was like, "Oh, this is not, what I got into in the beginning." But
Yeah, yeah, it's kind of reverted back to a form of picking and choosing who you want to play with and whatnot, which is yeah, that's well said though.
but
So you didn't do any like games or anything growing up? Like, I mean, you went
well, I
to
mean, yeah, that was my conscious choice
okay,
kind of to get into poker. Well, a big moment for me was when I was in college. I had already kind of given up on my basketball dream. That I was wanting to be a pro basketball player, but I chose, I was better at math and science, and I went to Caltech, and I said I'll just play basketball for fun. But I had this big, competitive outlet that I needed, and so I still, played just for fun. And then I remember one time in our college home game, I played a long session, and I got that same feeling of competitive outlet that I got in basketball and track and football and different sports, and it was a great feeling. I was like, "Wow, I can just sit here quiet and compete at poker and get that same outlet. This is great."
so you went to Caltech. I think I read somewhere you went for engineering, electrical. Is that what I read? Or
I mean, I dropped out in my second year. I was playing a lot of poker, and I said, "Let me just see where this poker goes. I'm gonna just play poker, and if it doesn't work out, I'll go back to school the next year."
so you have a sibling named Leaf or Left. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right. So Huckleberry and Leaf. So I'm guessing
Caraway, cotton, leaf, and Shoshana.
I was going to take a wild random guess that your parents didn't care that much. You decided to drop out of college to do your own thing.
Well, another part of the story is my dad was a poker player.
Okay.
Mm.
And so when I was young, my mom would complain, "You never spend any time with your son." He was that when I was real young, he was playing in. I grew up in Oakland, and he was playing in the Key Club, and he was a shill, and he was just always at the casino and never home. uh, and so she would complain, "Oh, you're never here. You're never spending time with his son." So he started bringing his pro poker player friends home on the weekend, and my mom would dress me up in this like tuxedo with these little like candy cigarettes, and it was like poker night, So in my subconscious brain later, it was like, oh, poker that's how you get attention for your dad, or that's how it's a very it
Gotcha.
became. So I was programmed to this social, it was my weekend activity when I was like 5, 6 years old for a short period there.
So did
So
you learn poker from your dad then,
yeah, I was
or from
playing.
his
We were
friends?
playing like no limit low ball with these pros. When
Jeez.
I was like 6 years old, he'd come on the weekend and beat me up, and but
What
then
what was
So you
beating you up? Like, how big I'm sure it was friendly to them, but, like, for you, 6-year-old, I mean, you don't have that much of allowance, do you? I mean,
yeah, right.
jeez.
yeah, it wasn't really until my uncle. I had also an uncle that was a gambler. Like my dad was a pretty good poker player and an intellectual, and he dropped out of poker later. And when I wanted to when I dropped out of college to play poker, he warned me against. He's like, "This is just a cycle, and it's just for fun, and you're never going to get anywhere with this, and blah blah blah." But I had an uncle that was a Pan 9.
I don't know.
It was a popular game in California back in the day. It's kinda like gin rummy. I don't even remember how to play it at this point, but he was mostly a pan player at the Oaks Club in Oakland.
Is Pan 9 like you play against other people, or you're playing against the house and
Yeah, you
it's
play against
advantage?
other people.
Okay, alright.
Yeah, that was the main game, but I think he played poker also, but he was just a kind of a deadbeat gambler and always losing, and then my grandma would always give him money, and then he would lose it and go broke, and one time she got tired of giving him money, and he was down and out, and so he came and stayed with us, and this was when I was, like, 10 or 11,
Okay.
and, so he had nothing to do, and so we just started playing backgammon and chess and Scrabble and poker and all these games, and we were just and he was like beating me up and needling me, and this really really helped me for when I became a poker player because
I bet. Yeah.
he was just using psychological warfare and making fun of me, and we would play Scrabble and he would just beat me every time, and he'd be like he would uh he's like, I think you're going to win this game, don't challenge this word, this you really got a good game going here, I don't want you to blow your chance to finally beat me, but of course he was
Bluffing on a
reversing,
word.
Yeah.
just bluffing on that,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then he'd get way ahead in the game, and then he'd start trading in the queen, the Q's and the Z's. Like, I'm gonna beat you with all 1 point letters. I'm never gonna use a big number. And
Jeez.
he was just pounding me and pounding, and beating me every game, and then we would play backgammon. He was up thousands of points, and we'd poker, and he was just beating the hell out of me in all these games, and just picking on me. And then finally, he was there for about 3 or 4 weeks. Then finally, I beat him one game of Scrabble, and he got all mad and quit and left, so
It's like
but
it's like
I
when you
know a lot of people like that, yeah.
I know it was your
yeah,
uncle, but it's
but
like when you're playing against your dad for years and years, and then the
Yeah.
first time you beat him, then you stop playing, and it's over.
but he really put me through the ringer with the psychological warfare and just hammering me and playing his best and using every trick he had, and when I first got into the big games in LA, it was like that, like, everyone was pick on me because I was a new kid or the
Sure.
young kid, and they were just the first time I sat down in a big game, the guy was just went on this big tirade, like, "How does this young kid get this money? He must be sucking dick for money," and just laying into me right away before I was even stuck, He should have waited until I was losing to start with
Jeez.
that, but
Yeah.
I mean,
but yeah, but I was like, "Oh, this is just like my uncle,"
maybe you got one of those faces, I don't know. Maybe you got a sucking dick for money face, I don't know. Probably not.
I
I don't
just
see it if it
have you
is.
heard of Jimmy?
Oh god.
No.
He was a legendary, high limit player from back in the day that nobody really heard of. You should have him on here if you could ever come across
Uh,
him, but he was one of the top 10 Go players in the world.
okay.
Oh,
Very, very sharp, Korean guy. He was also one of the reasons I really was attracted to poker back in those days is the pro poker players were such amazing characters. They had so much charisma and they were just funny. And, like this guy, he was, top 10 in the world, Go player. He was a top, like Taekwondo
Oh, no
fighter.
shit.
Yeah. And he came from, and he was a top poker player. And he was just funny also, the way he would needle everybody. It was a lot of the psychological warfare back then was pretty fun.
And I don't want to jump too hard ahead in the future or whatever, but I do want to touch on this, and I don't want to forget it. So, do you think today's poker or gambling is like kind of lacking that kind of back and forth that like I don't know, like you say, giving each other shit and
I
kind
don't
of testing
know.
people,
We'll see. I mean, 10 or 15 years ago, I would say no, not, but that's when
right?
I dropped out of poker. 'Cause, like, I didn't really like the way that poker was going. Like, I feel like all those old charismatic characters worked so hard to kind of like build up the game. Well, first, you had the people before my era that were very charismatic but they were also, a little shady. There was a lot of cheating going
Sure.
on. So then my generation, we were like, well, we're not as cool and funny as those guys, but we're going to be like the ethical, honest. We're going to, gamblers always had a bad name. So we're going to be more honest and everyone's going to like us because we're the honest gamblers. And, we used to play with Jerry Buss and he loved us because he was like, you guys are so much more honest than the businessman. And so we tried to be my generation of like, Ted Forrest and John Hennigan and that 90s group, we tried to be the most ethical players and we tried to be, funny and entertaining as the Chips and the Danny Robinsons and all those guys, but we weren't quite as funny and cool as them, but at least we were more honest. And then once, I feel like it was the combination of that sort of blew up poker. And then in the early 2000s, when, all the millennials who'd grown up in the computers and had no social skills and they had these entitlement issues. And so my experience, around, 2010 or whatever was like they just have these entitlement issues. They don't have any social skills. They're not trying to add to the game. They're not being like overly honest or, and they're not also not funny and they're just sort of just walking in
Yeah,
like
they're
that.
vacuums. Yeah,
They were just vacuums. And so
Yeah.
like and then, so that was one big problem, why poker went downhill, I think.
Yeah, it's funny you say entitlement issues because I was thinking while you were saying it, kind of the arc of poker as you're describing it, where it's like you got to convince kind of people to come and gamble with you and play poker. So you have to be kind of entertaining. And then once you succeed in that and you push it out into the boom, the moneymaker boom and all of that, then everybody else comes in and the first live games they play are amazing and just all the games are amazing. And then they just think they're entitled to great games all the time without any work. So now
Yeah.
we're kind of like slipping back into that previous arc where I think a lot of people at least our age and in between are kind of realizing like, oh, I should probably, not be a robot. I should probably be at least some level of entertaining. I should add some value to people spending time with me if I think I'm going to win in this poker game. So
well, those are more thoughtful players, and like I do think poker is kind of lacking on like the in betweens, the ones that can self realize the okay, like I need to perpetuate this instead of the people who are just like, oh, poker's perfect for me. I don't like people, but I like money and I like puzzles. Perfect. This is great. I can just sit here and be quiet and
no,
make money.
you're 100% right. But at the higher stakes, I'm saying people are
Yeah,
realizing
fair.
again
I agree with that. But
that it needs to turn the corner and you need to, you know, be something for the game. I mean, maybe I'm spoiled because I get to play an R game all the time.
sure,
But
you are spoiled. You
playing
play with
some
me.
Well, when
playing
you compare American culture to other cultures in other countries, we're lacking a certain social outlet, wouldn't you say? I mean, a lot of people, they are working on the computer, they're at home, they're not, we don't have as many children in this country. There's just not a lot of social structure and people, sometimes their only social interaction is they're at the store buying something. So poker is a social outlet. I think that's a big function of it. And, uh, I know when I got into poker, I had very poor social skills. So it was a comfortable place. When I first started, I was quiet also, I was like, I want to learn how to be social. And I would hear the people with their stories and the jokes. And I'm like, wow, it was kind of like a social learning experience for me.
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely stolen a lot of jokes and stories through my 20 years of playing poker professionally, and yeah, it's probably an inherent trait because, like, yeah, I was an engineer as well. Like, I wasn't popular or anything like that. It was just kind of a learned skill, I guess, over the years. I don't know how you were as a kid as much, but
yeah, no, so I was pretty similar, very quiet,
yeah,
like not a lot of social interaction past like, whatever, whenever we got dial up in our town and I could just go on the computer. So, but no, it's definitely a social outlet for people. I mean, that's why you see so many like socially awkward people playing poker and they're like trying to figure it out. It seems like, I mean, some of them are, some
Yeah,
are just
it's a good like training grounds to learn social skills because like it's okay to just sit there and be quiet, so you
Yeah.
don't really have to, you're not under pressure to perform socially or, it's not like you're jumping on some show and you're on like a dance contest and you
Right.
have to perform in
No,
front of
you
everyone.
don't have to put a joke out there. It's big risk, in fact, to say anything with 8 people kind of they're gonna instantly look at you.
All right, really quick, guys. Phenom Poker is out now. It is live. And if you want to support Table One, just go to joinphenompoker.com and that will help us. Fill in your information and you'll be on with us.
Tons of people on there, tons of action, especially until Art and I will run out of money, I think.
That's true. And we are doing a some sort of free roll. Anyone who signs up through our link, we're going to eventually reveal the details on Twitter, but if you sign up through our link, we are going to go all in up to 10 times at $100 no limit until somebody wins the $100. We might stack you 10 times and you'll lose 1,000 in this promotion, but we are trying to give away 100. So if we accidentally stack you 10 times, thanks. Thanks for playing. All right, joinphenompoker.com. Now.
But let's get a little bit back to your kind of your first foray into actual poker after your teen years of getting whatever trounced by your uncle. Or that was only a short
I played a little bit with my dad's poker pro friends when I was 5 or 6, maybe 10 times. And then I played for a month with my uncle, but it was mostly Scrabble and backgammon. There was a little poker in there, but it was just
It's
games.
strategy competition, though.
It was games.
It's good stuff, yeah.
And then when I was in Caltech, we had a home poker game.
okay.
And that was when I got that connect, like, oh, I can compete at this, it's so I was, trying to get better and beat people up in the game. And then one day, the best player in the game, my friend Konstantin Othmer, he was a senior and I was a freshman, and him and a couple of his buddies had been going to the casinos here and there, because it was LA, there was the bicycle and the commerce, and so we went to the El Dorado, which is now the Hustler.
Okay.
So he drove it. A couple of us freshmen, he drove us there, and he's like, "Okay, we're going to play 1 to 4 7-card stud." He eventually wrote a book. The next summer, he did all this computer simulation on stud, and he wrote a book called 7-Card Stud. I don't know if you ever heard of it, but it's
No.
actually pretty good, But like back then, like he would have an idea of like simulation to run, and he would run it for like the computer was so slow and
A couple days later, you can.
It took
get
him all
1%,
summer
yeah.
to like do these simulations to write the book.
I am supposed to call a flush draw. Cool.
Yeah, so he was basically just running out 3-way and 4-way hands in different streets and things.
What was his name
Anyway,
again? Sorry, I want to.
Konstantin, it's
Okay.
7-Card Stud by Konstantin
Okay.
Othmer.
I
You
might
should
look it
check out the
yeah.
book, especially if you like the history of like poker books and things. It's definitely one to have in there with Super System or the different books.
I'm just trying to get better at stud, honestly. So why did they bring you along as a freshman? Like,
Well,
was
we
it
had-
18 and over? Or,
No, we had our little home game, and then we just took the whole home game to the casino one day. It was like 5 or 6 of us.
was it 21 and over or 18 and over?
We had we had like I think we had. Do we have fake IDs? No, we just sort
You
of
just walked in and
They
acted like
didn't
you owned
card
the
back
place.
then.
no, we just snuck in with hats and jackets, and, like we were just kids, and they were seniors. They were 21, and we were
Yeah.
like 18 or 19.
They just
or
assumed
Got your
by
hoods on.
proximity. Yeah.
Once they realize you're not going to rob the place, they're like, all right, just let them play poker.
Well, when I dropped out, I was 20, and I was playing all over LA. But the place that I ended up playing the most was the Normandy Casino in Gardena, also because they just didn't. The
They didn't care.
security guards there were just lazy. I never got carded there. Like before, I'd go to the bicycle and they'd card me, and then I'd go to the commerce and they wouldn't. Like I think the bike and the commerce back then when I was 19 and 20, they would card you like 15-20% of the time. So
Okay. And the times they
sometimes
did, you're like, oh.
I just go to another casino.
Yeah,
or whatever,
gotcha. So you never had a problem whatsoever. So it's pretty easy for you to drop out of college when, like, I mean, you're already like probably spending way more time playing poker than you are like.
Well, even in
studying.
Vegas, I went home for Christmas when I was after my freshman year, so my second year. During the Christmas break, I drove home to Montana because my family had moved from Oakland to Montana. So I stopped in Vegas, played 10-20 limit hold'em with there, and won like $1,000. Went home, spent it on Christmas presents, had a few hundred left. Came back, won another 1,000. Then I went back, and then during it's Caltech is a quarter system, 3 quarters. So I went back to school for 1 quarter, and I played too much poker, and then I built the 1,000 that I had got from Vegas up to 10, and then I was like, okay, I have a bankroll. I'll just take the rest of the year off and see how I do.
Like when you say you drove up to Montana, Vegas isn't really on the way. I don't know if geography is one of your things, but like it's you very
Maybe
intentionally
lived in
went
like
there.
far
LA to
southeast.
Montana.
Oh, I thought you were
LA.
from Oakland to
No, I
Montana.
was
Okay,
going
yeah.
to
All right,
Caltech,
gotcha.
which is in Pasadena,
Yeah.
so it was on the way.
All right, so you built up your bankroll and then never looked back, I guess.
So those other 2 freshmen that were my poker buddies in the home game, they dropped out too shortly after they followed my lead, and they were pro poker players. They both ended up going back to school and finishing, but I didn't.
Got it.
But I wanted to tell the story of that first time I ever went to the El Dorado, which is now the Hustler. So we went there, and they were teaching us. We played all these crazy, home game, pass the trash, and all these games or whatever. But we had played a little bit of stud. But he was like, "Okay, it's 1 to 4 stud, dollar low card, no ante, and
All right.
just wait for aces and kings and make it 4 and bet all the way, and you'll beat the game." So that was kind of our bait. That's all we really did. Me and the other 2 freshmen. So we just played like that, and bought in for $20, and I won 60, and my friend won 80, and the other guy won 50, and Constantine won like 200 because he was a little better. And the other guy, he had this big act where he had the fake beer and the hat, and he acted retarded, and he had this way to like, whenever he had an ace up, he would like look at his card, and if he had aces, he would like, I'm not gonna look, and he had a way to look, put his cards here. It's like, I'm just gonna raise all the way this hand. I'm not looking at my hand. He would have aces, and everybody would cap it up with him. He won like 500 or 600. He was the big winner, But
So-
he was a senior. He had taken a couple of years to develop this whole act,
But you guys were all in the same game, or just like kind of spread throughout the room?
No, there was different games.
Okay,
We were in
alright.
different games. Probably,
That's sick though.
there might have been 2 of us in one game, but it was mostly spread out. Yeah, I wasn't on the table with the guy that won 500.
Yeah, it's tough. All the winners.
My dad would like that guy. He's always telling me to like order a club soda with a lime and tell her to say gin and tonic when she comes over. I'm like, Dad, don't punish me for I don't want a club soda.
So if you're just, as a freshman, if you're just waiting for aces and kings, like you have to have some patience, especially when you see all these other people playing pots and winning big pots and having fun. You ever get the inclination, just look down at, a little Jack 9-8, 2 diamonds, and just be like, oh, there we go.
Not really, no.
Follow
Fair
the
enough.
system.
I should have read the book.
At that point. Yeah, I didn't,
You just wanted to win more than you cared about.
well, it was, I guess, about 37 years ago or something. I can't really remember. I did play one hand. Maybe I did. But probably not. Though.
What was there?
I was always overly cautious in my first couple of years.
Yeah.
I was way too tight. When I first came to Vegas and played, David Gray used to talk about how tight I was in 7-card stuff.
David Gray called you tight?
Yeah, I was tighter than him because I was just in the 75 stud, and it was a little higher than my bankroll, and I was a little cautious, and I just wasn't in too many pots. He's like, David Gray used to talk about me. I was like, oh, if you raise with a jack and he raises with 6, it's the queen.
Just rolled up.
Definitely better than jacks.
Right.
Well, back then it was, the ante was a little smaller. It was like a
Okay.
fifth of the low bet, and then the low, like 75 ante with a 15 ante. Now
You could get away with playing super tight then, yeah.
on Phenom Poker, it's like a third or a quarter
Right.
of the bet now. So it's always a little. Everybody plays stud games a little bit bigger ante than they used to. Even back in those days, we used to sometimes have like 6 and 1200 with 100 ante and 100 low card. So that was pretty tight
Yeah.
structure.
I was just like, I didn't realize any of that stuff. Do you know David Bach? He's from Georgia, cowboy hat. Like, I don't know.
David Bach,
He bowled. I don't know.
we were at the 50K final table.
Yeah.
He won. I got 5th or whatever one year. Yeah.
So yeah, he's the one that opened my eyes to that, because like before I was just like, it's one strategy throughout, and like this is before my dad taught me how to play when I was younger, but like I think I was playing in like 2009 or 10, and he was like, wow, like you really changed gears, like when we changed the game a little bit. He was like, yeah, because the percentage of like the ante versus like what the stakes are, it's huge. And I was like, oh, I'm an idiot. Okay, yeah, that makes complete sense. But yeah, I think that's the first time I actually like started putting actual thought into like those games. Before I was so concerned about like just the minutia of like having a hand and be able to read the other person's hand and stuff like that. I didn't even care about like pot odds. It was just like one or the other. But okay, yeah, it's apparently I was late to the party, but
Yeah, there was a lot of stud games going back in the early days when I played,
so
stud raz and Ada
were those your main games? Like, or was it just anything you could play? I mean, it was
Well, I guess before I came around, there was a lot of no limit hold'em, but then everybody went broke.
yeah,
The poker community was pretty small. There just wasn't all that money flying into
right,
it. So limit games evolved because, people could survive for months or someone might get on a rush for 6 months that was a bad play. And it just kept the games going. And then, there was in California, there was low ball, deal your own low ball. I came in just at the after the deal your own when there was a lot of cheating going on. And so then, once I think I got into poker soon after Hold'em was legalized, so there was Hold'em, but most around the country, I think the most popular game was seven card stud. So ace to five low ball, Hold'em, limit Hold'em, and ace and seven card stud were the popular games back then. And there was a little like no limit Hold'em or PLO, but it was like very fringe. There was a few little games here and there. And
gotcha.
no limit hold'em at that point was just for the big tournaments,
Right,
or,
right.
or tournaments in general. But
So that kind of leads me into my next question. I might be skipping ahead of too many years or whatever. I don't want to skip over too many stories, but like,
nice to skip through time. And time machine. I mean,
so like, how'd you start getting into tournaments? What was there just a more competitive itch or like
only because my original poker goals was to make $1 million and win the world championship. Those
That's
are my
great.
two original poker goals once
Mhm.
I dropped out of school. And so I was like, and then so I dropped out when I was 20. Then by the time I was 21, I had the million. And then I was like, I took a few months off and I was like, should I go for this? Should I stay in poker or should I just do something else? I've got the money to kind of do whatever I want. And that was, uh, when I was at Cal, I had decided when I was 18 that I didn't want to play basketball because there was too much politics in it. You know how like they say your frontal cortex doesn't fully,
So you're
form
25.
until you're 25. So I'm 18 and I was like, just finished high school and I'm like trying to make my life decision here, like what to do with
Right.
myself. And looking back, it was interesting because I made a totally emotional, we make emotional decisions until we're 25 and then we can make more logical decisions. So I was like, if I dedicate myself to basketball for the next 7 years and try out for an NBA team and I don't make it because so and so's dad was friends with the
Sure.
owner and the coach or his son was on the coach, and they get my spot. I was like, I don't think I could take that emotionally. So I was like being actually fearing emotional. I made my decision based on like avoid. It was a safe play. I was like,
Right.
I don't want to be
Like
in that emotional situation.
smart poker players win money back then or still do today. Like it
So
was
then I
just,
said, I'll just play for fun and then I'll focus on, what I'm maybe better at, which was the math and the science. So, I went to Caltech and I decided to play basketball for fun. Caltech had the world's worst
it was like
basketball
D3,
team.
no scholarship, just having fun.
Uh,
Or was it D3? Sorry.
it was Division III, but it was the worst Division III team in the history of Division III. And they made a documentary about it. I don't know if you heard about that.
I read about
The
this morning.
longest It
Yeah.
was the longest losing streak in NCAA history that the team had. When I got there, we were playing a pickup game with some guys from JPL, Jet Propulsion Laboratory,
Mhm.
and I was good at basketball. And then they were like, "Did they pay you to come here?" I was insulted. I was like as if I wasn't smart or something. But it's so funny that they even said that because Caltech at the time was worth billions of dollars, a very rich school, and they hadn't spent any money on any sports. They almost discouraged sports. Really, it was kind of stupid, but we had the same uniforms from the 50s. They had not bought new uniforms since the 50s. This was 87.
So not just the
So I
design,
had
just
37.
Yeah,
I
just
had to wear a 37-year-old jersey that had been washed all those times.
oh,
It was really old.
faded and
And so our coach had been in basketball all his life. He was the San Jacinto Junior College coach, and it was a farm team for UNLV. Remember the super team?
oh yeah,
So for 20, 30 years, he was friends with Tarkanian. He was a bald-headed guy he dressed just like
chew
Tarkanian.
on the towel, do
Yeah,
the whole
no,
bit.
he didn't
All
chew on a towel, but he was
right.
he was like, he was highly involved. You know, all his players were going there. He was used to coaching just like really crazy, like hard to manage, street players that dropped out of school, and he was all about discipline. He coached all those years, and then he retired. But then he was going crazy. He was in his 80s, and he was like, I just need to still be in basketball to do something, but I don't have much energy. I'm 80 something. So he searched around for the most low key job he could find. And that was Caltech. So now
That's
he,
great.
by some bizarre, it was very bizarre that usually Caltech, you would just manage some smart guy was just the coach, and it was just, but this guy was a real basketball coach in basketball all of his life. And so I played the first year, and then I dropped out the next year. And then after I made my million, I
Yeah,
was,
can we talk about because I'm still 10K to a million in a year? Is that
well, maybe a year and a half.
what were you? What games
Yeah.
were you playing?
He did sleep some, Art.
He was
No, I
like,
took it.
he was like, so I had the million. I was
I
like, "You
want to
just
go. I want to
dropped
go back to
out."
the story, but yeah, I guess we should touch on like the.
Well, I took it very slow. I was actually very
Oh.
careful with my bankroll and everything. So I started out, just turned 20, and I had 10,000, and I played 15-30 limit hold'em. And so I played like 3 months. I made like 15,000 a month or something. So I had like 50, 60,000 bankroll. And then I went to the World Series. I was only 20. I just was playing satellites.
Get the
Because
lammers,
I
sell
was
them.
playing satellites and selling the chips and
Sure.
everything. But, my goal was to win the main event. So I was like, okay, I should play some of these I wanted to play a tournament just for the experience, so that next year when I was 21, I'd have a little extra experience.
Just dust the money, no chance to get
Yeah,
it.
no, I did that. So I played, I was a limit hold'em player. So I jumped in like a $1,000 limit hold'em tournament, got to the bubble, and then threw my chips away. And when I got to the bubble, I wasn't sure what to do. I was like, should I really just try to win, or am I going to get in trouble? And I just decided to like throw my chips away.
I don't know if you know Brian Devonshire, Devo, or not, but we had him on a few months back, and he played underage as well. And he got into this pot where he basically qualified for the bad beat jackpot, but like it required everyone's ID at the table because they had to pay everyone out and W-2s because it was, maybe 50,000 for like the guy that got bad beaten all the way down, but like there's W-2s around, and he didn't know how to play. His hand was so face up, he didn't know how to. He wanted to just muck, but like he didn't want to be accused of like cheating or anything like that.
Yeah, it was 3 aces on the board, and he had ace queen, and the other guy obviously had a high pocket pair, and it had got down to like aces full of something.
Yeah,
And he was like, uh-oh. And he was that was all running through his head. And then the river luckily was a king, and it counterfeited the bad beat jackpot.
Oh,
yeah,
So
because
he
you have to
didn't
use
have-
both cards or whatever.
So he was
Something
in
like-
a cash game, but he didn't want to have to show ID to get the
yeah,
jackpot.
exactly. Like
'cause he was
he thought about just like running out of there. He was just like,
He's like,
I don't care that much about the the $88 in the pot. I should just probably just run away right now. But
Yeah.
but like he's like, but still, like I would have got like 20,000 or something like that. So he was like fighting with himself.
Yeah, he was like, I think what he landed on was if he went back in time, he would have just, I mean, obviously he would have had to hit it for it to count, but just be like, oh, I forgot my ID, and figure it out
Yeah.
later with somebody else.
In Europe, it's 18, right? To
I think
play
so.
tournament.
Yeah, and the
Yeah.
Indian reservation ones and stuff like that. Yeah,
18.
yeah, right. So
What do you guys think about the age of poker? I mean, should it be in America reduced to 18?
I think everything should be 18, or as long as we continue to. You can join the military at 18, fight for your country
It
at
doesn't
18.
seem right that you have to wait to 21
Yeah.
to play poker, but
Smoke cigarettes. You can do everything. Vote at 18, but you're not mature enough to handle all
but
this
you
other
can't
stuff.
drink alcohol though at
Right.
18. But they do anyway. I mean,
Yeah, well, exactly. And whatever. I'm always a bigger proponent of like if you make it legal, you can make it safer. But that's probably
We have some 18, right? Well, like you said, the Indian ones, Florida and stuff like that. But
sure, but it should be across the board.
I
If you're
agree.
mature enough to be an adult and vote for your local senator or whatever, then you should be mature enough to handle split twos.
Yeah.
Like I don't know, shit. Like
it should be 18 or it should be 25 when your prefrontal cortex is developed.
But no, I always thought like it's a bit hypocritical to like just kind of put these arbitrary lines of like when people are allowed to do stuff, and then I'm sure
yeah.
certain things happen to push the ages front or back, or whatever. I think Louisiana had it 18 as recently as like 20 years ago or something like that, and then I'm sure some idiot like drunk drove into like a building and
His high school.
yeah, whatever. Like whatever. It's just
You guys
it's
feel like
arbitrary though.
poker is kind of a sport? Do you feel like it's a competitive sport? You can be a pro poker player. Is it,
I think as
you
much
can,
as chess is. It's like
how
a
about like,
mind sport.
what about basketball or tennis or whatever? I mean,
It, oh,
I got that feeling when I first played that like this is a sport almost. This is competitive. The sports are very mental as well. I mean,
and I feel the same way. And it's not that I don't think a NFL talent player at 18 shouldn't be able the opportunity to go there.
but in Europe they play like you know, in the European basketball leagues, 15, 16-year-old
Sure.
kids are making hundreds of thousands. They're pros over there. They can be, if you're good in 14 even, like what was Luka Doncic,
Right.
wasn't he?
Yeah,
Like
I think it was
14?
14. He was 14.
He was 14. I mean,
It's a lot about body development too, because like I know at least in America, the sport I like the most is football, but they were trying to protect people from like kind of like getting hurt too early because they were still growing into their bodies and stuff like that. I think it's less an issue for like baseball and basketball to a lesser extent, but like I don't know how to compare that to like a mind game, even though like your mind's still growing and like developing at the same time. I'm not
at
really
least you
sure.
can't get concussions in poker.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I guess if I had to compare poker to one sport, it would be golf because there's like a little bit of luck in it. You you could be kind of fat and play it still. Shout out to John Daly. And yeah, I don't know.
But are the most successful poker players fat? I mean,
No.
anymore? I mean,
No,
I
no,
don't
not
know.
anymore.
No.
Certainly, I don't know if they ever were.
I'm not
Honestly,
saying the most successful golfers are fat either. They're
who
not.
was that guy that was fat and then he lost all that weight and then he was on top of the world and then he kind of fell off?
oh, DeChambeau for
No, not
golf.
Bryce DeChambeau, way before him. I'm talking about like in the 90s or something.
Oh.
Can't remember his name, but he was fat and then he got in super shape. Then he like was the top player the next year, but then he lost his motivation. I can't think who it was. This is in the 90s though, but
I thought golf was for yuppies back then. I'm not really sure. I don't know. I didn't get into golf till about 10 years ago.
I was 10 years old. I didn't watch any sports.
You're just young.
yeah, I used to make fun of golf, but then I was like, why are you guys watching this? We were in the big game, in Vegas with Chip and Doyle and all them. And I was like, why are you guys watching this sissies? This is not even a sport, I was talking shit about. And then, like, you don't know how hard golf is. Golf is a real good game, blah, blah, blah. And then they bet me that I couldn't break 90 in a year, 100,000. But I won the bet, but it was a genius bet by them because it distracted me from beating them in the game.
Yeah, speaking of, I guess it's a good time to go into all the fucking bets that you've had because you had another golf one I saw that was, what was it, breaking 100 4 times in the same day with 3 clubs. You had like a putter,
Oh yeah,
a
I
5
remember
iron, and a
Yeah, that
sand
was with
wedge.
David Gray, yeah, we were, yeah, I had to play that Jack Nicklaus course in
Mhm.
Lake Las Vegas. What's it called again? I don't even play
The
golf.
the one off to near somewhere like Bear's Best or the
No, at Lake Las Vegas.
Oh.
2 courses.
right. It's
the
Reflection Bay.
Reflection
and-
Bay,
Yeah,
that's it.
right.
So it was Reflection Bay is not set up for walking.
It is
And
not.
there's like quarter mile, third of a mile walks in between the holes. So it was the middle of summer, it was going to be 115 the
I was
next
about to
day.
ask. Jesus.
And so the bet was I had to complete 4 rounds under 100 with the 5-iron sandwich putter walking, right? It was mostly about the heat, but also the score a little bit because there was a hole that was like a 210 carry with a 5-iron. It was pretty hard to carry from the back tees,
Oh, I know that.
And so is it hole like 15 or something?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So the first round, I hit into that. I was way on pace to make it, and I hit into that ditch like 3 times. So now I had to go par the last 3 holes. And so the next hole was a 440 uphill par 4. I hit 5-iron to like 6 feet, and then I lipped out the putt. So it was a par, So now
Still okay, but not.
the next
ideal.
hole was the par 3, 160 over the water, that little
Yeah.
water. I've got a 5-iron. I was like, should I tee? And it was very it was getting be a bit windy. It got really windy that day later, but I was like, should I tee it up and just sky it up in there, or should I sandwich here, sandwich there? So I sandwiched it over to the ladies' tee. Then I sandwiched it to 2 feet, and I missed the 2-footer. So now I had to birdie the last hole, par 5, you know, and I had like a 20-footer and missed it. So I was like, I just barely missed the 99. So I shot 100 on the, so I had to break 100 each time. So I shot 100 exactly because I hit it 3 times in the ditch. But the bet was I had to do 4 times in a day.
Right.
So I missed one. So I could now play much quicker and squeeze in 4 more.
Oh, so if you could
So I
squeeze
did
in like
5 rounds.
Oh
I did
my God.
5 rounds,
Okay,
but I
sick.
missed the first round.
Gotcha.
And then
Good for you for fucking
on
going
the
after
final,
it.
on the final round, so then I got in the groove. I got in the groove and I was just shooting like 92, 93 every time. And I had, you know, figured out I'd hit it over that ditch or whatever.
What time did you start?
I started at the crack of dawn. like
Okay, yeah,
6,
obviously.
and
Yeah.
then, so then the last round, I was really pushing it for time. And the wind was kicking up. And then on the 6th or 7th hole, I fell to the ground with muscle cramps. Because I'm just, you know, I was just drinking water. The next day, for a whole day, my throat was sore because I had worn off the mucus of my throat from drinking so much water. You know?
Jesus.
But I wasn't eating enough electrolytes or something, and I fell to the ground with cramps. And David Gray, after the next day, he's like, I was the most tired out. He was just riding in the cart watching. He's like, I can't believe how tired he must be. Like, I'm the most tired just from watching, driving around all day in that heat. He was so tired. But I fell to the ground with cramp. He thought for sure he had it. First, he thought he had it won
Initially, of course.
the
Yeah.
first round. I
Of
missed
course,
it. Now I
yeah.
got to squeeze 4 more in. So now I'm plugging along. And I got 3 in a row, and there's like 1 more. And then the last 9, so I got it from the cramps. I somehow recovered. But then the last 9, there was like no way I was going to make it time-wise. So I had to run between every shot. I hit the shot, and I'm just running. Now it became speed golf, and I had to finish back 9 in like 20, 30 minutes or something. So I get to the last hole, and then I finished the last hole in the stone dark. You know, I was barely able to finish the hole because it was really dark at 7 or whatever. So I was just out there for like 13 hours, just going.
So many questions. Was
That
it
was a
just
fun
you and
bet.
David Gray? Or was it had to have been side action? Like people had to know about this bet, I'm sure.
I think my girlfriend came out for a while and brought me some fruit or waters and things, and some people came in and out. I don't really remember who else came in and out to watch for a minute, but
Yeah, I mean
there
it's a
was
long
some
time.
other side action. I don't really remember who else bet on or against me, but it was a fun bet because I didn't really know if I could make it or not. But
Was the was it just like till the end of the day, or was it like a certain time of the day? Like I mean,
No,
you said
no,
you
it's
finished it in the dark, so like
yeah,
was,
no, I mean, if I wanted to keep going in the dark, I
gotcha.
guess I could, but it was
You can't find your ball.
can't
Right?
find
It's
your ball in
impossible.
the dark. You know, just I was barely able to finish that last hole in the dark.
How much was that bet for? Did we say?
I think it was 35,000 or 25 or 35,000. It wasn't like a huge bet.
2 months of 1530.
But at that time we were playing 4 and 800. You know,
Yeah.
playing pretty big then.
Are you tired of playing with players like this? Not this.
No,
like
no.
this? Or this?
Or do you want to play with players like this?
Oh, wait, If you like having fun at the poker table, Table 1 is the game for you. We play high stakes, no limit, 100 blinds. And if you want to get into the game, it's actually super easy. We have a website, table1.vegas. You just go to the website, you click get a seat in the game, and fill out the form. It's that easy. It's your name, it's your phone number, it's the date that you're here, and I will personally reach out to you.
And it's only $5K minimum buy-in. You know, run it up at 2.5 and join us.
So how does a bet like this like even come up? You're just sitting around talking and then like, you know, one thing leads to another and you're just like
Well,
mentally
I became a golf gambler because Chip and Doyle got
they made you.
they made me the bet, so I decided to try to win that bet, and I got a golf coach and I practiced every day, all day for like 8 months, and I got down to like 79 or whatever in 8
Sure.
months, and I won the bet. And then along the way, you know, I was in the golf gambling. You know, everybody.
It's addictive. Yeah.
We had a pretty good little golf gambling community back then, you know, and it was pretty fun. So I got into the golf gambling, and then, yeah, when I got to Vegas, you know, there was like Tommy Fisher and Puggy Pearson and a lot of legendary golf hustlers that I was gambling with and stuff that usually beat me, but it was a lot of fun playing with those golf.
Were you a winner overall in your golf gambling? You
I
think?
was just thinking about that on the way over here. I don't know if I was ahead or behind overall. I mean, lost a very big bet where it was me and Howard Lederer against Doyle and Mike Sexton. It was like a 2-on-2 scramble. For 50, I only bet 50,000 Nassau. I ended up losing 100,000 on it, but that was one where there was a huge entourage. Doyle had like $1 million Nassau.
Oh,
He
Jesus.
won 2-3 million on it or whatever. He was betting. Everybody was betting on us
Right.
because Doyle could hardly walk. And they were scrambling from the ladies' tees and we were scrambling from the back tees, and it was an even match.
Oh, wow.
3 holes to go. We tied the front, and then we were 2 ahead with 3 holes to go. So we had to lose the last 3 holes in a
To
row.
lose.
Maybe we had to tie and lose 2 or something because of the press. I think they ended up winning 1 up on the overall, and they won a press, and they won 2 bets. But so on the 16th hole, like, we had like a 15-footer for birdie, par 5, and they had like a 60-footer, this big downhill curving down a tier and everything. And when we got up to the green, we just finished our putt because they had so far to walk just to hurry up,
Right.
So we birdied, and now they have a 60-footer to tie the hole. If they don't tie that hole, we win. So now, Mike Sexton missed his, and then Doyle drained the 60-footer to tie the hole. So now in the next hole, I hit a bad shot. It was a long par 3, and we both hit it in the bunker, and we got a bogey. They won that hole, and then on the last hole, I hit a really good, second shot, and we were just in the front. Was a scramble. So my ball was like on the fringe uphill, and then the other one was on his. Howard's shot was like farther away, but on the green.
On the green, yeah.
And we picked that one, and then we hit it to like 3 or 4 feet, and somehow we missed the putt. And so we bogeyed the last 2 holes and ended up losing. It was pretty brutal.
Damn.
Yeah, that was a big bet I lost, but
Not as big as someone else. I mean, Doyle won 2 or 3 million.
yeah, he won a lot on that one. But yeah, we had that match. I mean, if he just doesn't make that 60-footer, or if we just it's a scramble. You're
Yeah.
supposed to par every hole.
Right.
Yeah, I
We
mean, you
parred
guys are
almost every
making.
hole. We bogeyed the last 2 holes. We kind of blew it there.
But
He was
did you-
betting against Howard, or he's betting like side action.
Oh, there was
everybody.
Lot of side
everybody
action.
came out, and everyone bet on us,
Got
and
it.
there was like 10 people watching, and I was pretty happy with how I played. I hit a lot of good shots, and we were beating them. But
I was going to ask, did you feel, obviously you felt pressure, but like, did you feel like you guys made bogeys because you guys choked a bit, or was it just, golf happens?
Yeah, I think we might have choked a little after he made that 60-footer.
Yeah. It's tough to recover from that.
We didn't. That was such a just dagger, and then yeah, I think I hit a bad shot after that 60-footer. But I don't know.
Nowhere near to that extent, but I've mentioned this on the podcast before. I played a big scramble, my team versus Ben Lamb's team or whatever. Like it was like 5 or 10K a hole, and we were up pretty good. It was 5K a hole because we were up like 15 or 20K after 9, and Ben offered a hole in one bet, and I accepted his 60 to my 50, and he hit a hole in one on, it was at Cascada. I think it was hole 13.
Who did it?
Ben Lamb.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, and I didn't even get to see it, but like he drains it. So they come with Dom Perignon just celebrating like in her face or whatever, and we're up money at this point. We're up like 15, 20K of the team, even though I just lost like 50,000, and I'm just like, oh, I'm fucking mad and pissed or whatever. And everyone took a small piece of me. It was very small, but like a small piece of that as well. And we didn't win a single other hole going in because like like we didn't even talk to each other. I don't think it was just like we were playing a 4-man scramble, and just like every shot, like we couldn't miss in the first like 12 holes, but no one hit a good shot going in. I think there's some psychological bullshit that happens when someone does something otherworldly, and
yeah.
Sucks the energy right out
Yeah.
of you, huh?
Plus, in our match, like we had to not. We've kind of felt like we had it won, and so now it's like don't lose.
Right.
It's kind of like. Whereas, like
right.
if you're coming from behind, you kind of get that momentum, and you
Sure.
have nothing to lose because you've already been losing. Then you can hit the great shots. But
Yeah, that's a good way to put it for sure. Because it's like when you get it all in and you're behind, you're just like, well, I'm probably gonna lose, so I only have hope now, Or when you're bluffing,
Oh, that's right.
bluffing,
Oh,
trying to get
that's
there.
exactly right.
or if you get short in a tournament, you've kind of already made your peace with busting out on the bubble or busting out like with 2 tables to go, and
Yeah.
but then you start running it up, and you just kind of start playing better because it's just more free because you're like, this is a free roll now. And,
Yeah.
Fuck yeah. Um, I don't. It seems like a very trite question, but like I want to know your favorite prop bet. But like I do want to touch on like the one where you had to be in the ocean for 24 hours without touching uh, the beach. I guess. Um,
Well, at the time, I was hanging out a lot with Phil Hellmuth, and
Heard of them?
he's a
Yeah.
swimmer,
Uh,
and we had all kinds of prop bets and things, and swimming bets. But just I had read an article about some boat wreck, and then the people were just out there floating around and like dog paddling for like 3 or 4 days until they got saved.
Jesus.
And so I was like, of course I could float for 24 hours. This guy did it for 4 or 5 days to save himself. Why couldn't I do it?
Yeah.
That's how the bet came up.
But like you were in the crashing waves, or were you kind of past
Well,
like
I
the
never tried
breakers?
it. I mean, we bet 10,000, and
Okay.
then it was like we were supposed to do it in like 3 months later. We were going to do it, but then I was winning every day, and the games were good, and I just said, forget it. I tried to maybe postpone it or settle it or something, but he was smart. He wouldn't sell it. So I just paid off the bet.
Oh, you just paid him
I never
10K not to do
tried
it.
to float. I mean,
He just bet the exact right amount to where you could pay it and continue and feel like it's justified to continue to just play poker.
I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
If you're trying to make money in prop bets, making it small enough to where the guy won't try can be a big thing.
Yeah.
That's what I did with Matt Vallejo. The whole reason I'm involved in
Right.
the Phenom Poker is because he wanted to make a running bet with me, and then we made this running bet, and I made it. I gave him the best of the bet by
Yeah.
far,
He,
but
he even said that. Yeah.
like it was so small for him that like I figured he wouldn't try.
What was the bet? I don't know this
He
bet.
told us at the table.
He had because he was the number 2 runner in Arizona when he was high school. He ran a 4:19 mile. He was a really good runner.
Okay.
And I just run, to stay in shape and things. I'm not a bad runner, but I was never a great runner.
Yeah, or if the sun's setting and you got to get to hole 18 real quick.
But anyway, yeah. So he's only 40. I'm 56. So you would think he was a great runner. He would have to spot me a lot in running.
Yeah.
But he's now, I think he wanted to make a running back just to get in shape because his running weight was 160. And now he's 220. He's overweight. So he wanted to get back in shape.
Yeah.
And so he was going to have to lose. So I made the bet. He had 4 months to run a mile. And then after that, and then I had 4 more months and 4 tries after that to run a half marathon at that pace that he ran.
At that
1
pace.
mile only.
Oh, at that pace. Jesus.
I gave him an incredible bet.
That's yeah.
Yeah. Holy
And
shit.
then he was like, well, I gave him 4 months. I wanted to give him only 3 months because that's enough time to like lose some shape and run a reasonable mile. But he's like, I'm not even going to try for the first month because he's traveling and
Sure.
he wants to drink Mai Tais on the beach and he's busy and he's so busy, he's got a wife that likes
Sure.
to eat and drink and he's got a daughter and he's running the company and he's super busy. So I knew it was going to be tough for him to get back in shape. But he said, I don't even want to start for a month because I've got this big around the world trip and everything. I'm too busy. And so he said, give me 4 months because I'm not even going to try the first month. And then he was in Germany about to fly to Dubai, but he couldn't get on the plane because his daughter's passport had only 5 months on it. And you can't go anywhere if you don't have 6 months on your passport. So he had to cancel his trip. And so then he was like already went running once, and then he did like a 3-day fast. And then I started moaning that I was dead. And then he was like, well, it's not too late to call it off. So then I just called it off because he had already run once and he'd already lost 10 pounds.
Still
He had
though.
such a good bet already.
I was going to say he was already way ahead of the bet anyway. Spotted him 4 months and then him getting a little jump anyway.
How long's a half marathon? That's 13 miles. So you got to do 13 miles at the
One.
same pace that he can just do one at his top speed.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a hell of a odds you laid there. I think it's a good call calling it off.
I mean, usually when you're betting, if someone won't do something, you're just helping them motivate. And,
Right.
most people have bet that I couldn't do some kind of like sports bets, like they just wanted to help me get in shape or something. They didn't, a lot of times they didn't even want to win the bet. If I beat them, they're happy.
Right. So I know you haven't got through one of our podcasts, which is completely fine, but I would suggest that we did one on Clinton Keon. I don't know if you know who he is. He passed away in an automobile accident a couple of years ago. but we
Yeah.
had Lynn Ashby
Clint,
on. Yeah,
the 3-point shooter
that's it.
from Indiana.
Correct.
Yeah, so
And
I had bumped into him in the gym once. I was shooting around, and he tried to hustle me, and so we ended up shooting, and for 15, we shot a game of horse, get your own rebound, 3-pointers only.
Mhm.
So first one, basically to miss 5 shots, and then you lose that. And it was 3 out of 5, and so that guy, as you know, he can make 95, 98 out of 100 threes, college threes, and but I was like. I came out like gangbusters and shot the best that I could ever shoot. I made 45 out of 53s, and I beat him the first game because he let me win to try to hustle. So I made 45 out of 50, which was just amazing for me. And then he was like, I had my own ball, and he had like a house ball that was shitty. He's like, this isn't fair. I've got this house ball. And he started complaining, and then he like almost pretended like he wanted to back out of the bed or cancel it. But then he was like, well, I guess a lot of Clint stories, right? That was very sad to hear. That. I mean, it was a self-driving accident, right?
That I don't know. I don't know any of the details.
It had to be, because this was the most coordinated guy on earth. There's no way this guy could run a car off the road. I mean, he was.
I think there was like hydroplaning involved or something like that. Hydroplaning, like when you run on water and it.
Oh, there was water on the road?
I think so. I read like some kind of article about it. It was.
I would imagine that he would have found a way to swerve out of that.
Maybe he wasn't driving.
He would open the door and just like fucking moonwalked out there as the car like exploded in the background or something. But yeah,
very surprised to hear he died in a
but that is one I think you may be able to get through with Lynn Ashby telling the stories about his hustle, his his prop bets and stuff like that.
I wasn't really a fan of his hustling. I mean, I don't really. For me, prop bets were always just an extra way to motivate, to do something, or it might be if just something funny came up in conversation, like wonder if you could do that, or wonder if this could happen, or whatever. It's like it's nice to bet on things because like people talk a lot and like put your money where your mouth is. We can sell it real easy and just bet.
Yeah, I don't know. I still think you'd like it because Len said he tried to convince him to actually hustle, and he would never hustle. He would just like.
He tried. He was really bad at it.
I don't know. He said Clint. He said that he would just tell people what he can do, and then they wouldn't believe him. So I don't know.
He would try to hustle, and then like he would just kind of give up on the hustle. Again, this is all according to Lynn, but like I don't know. Every time I've heard a Clint story, it's just like
you never know for sure. I mean, all I know is that our bet was pretty fair, and he beat me. So
yeah.
I only shot him one time, but
okay, well,
but he didn't really hustle me that much. The first game I did beat him, and maybe he did have to get you. I mean, I made 45 out of 53.
Yeah, that's tough to beat.
And then the next time he made like 48 out of 53s. He wasn't hustling the second game. He just made 19 and missed one, and then he made 18 and missed one. Then he made 23 and missed. Like it was like that, He was making 19 out of 20. And I came back to earth, and I was like,
take my money. I'm done.
Well,
should we get back to poker?
Yeah, just a little bit.
The main event champion.
I at least want to talk about the main event run and like kind of the state of poker at the time. I believe it was 1996.
Yeah.
So you had 2 goals, make $1 million. You did that in 2 days or 20 hours. I don't even know what it was.
Couple of years.
Year and a half, I think. But like the following goal was to win the WSOP championship, the main event. Accomplished that pretty quick. Like it was just like it was. I obviously I know poker was different there. The small the fields were smaller. I get all that, but like
I might have won it earlier because I would always have all the chips and be the chip leader, and then with 2-3 tables to go, I would blow up. And then the year that I won was I had moved to Vegas. Home court advantage is pretty big, and
I agree. So
I had no girlfriend. I was living in the hotel room, and I would just burn myself out. I'm playing all these cash games. Didn't really play tournaments, so I was playing all the big cash games. And then by the time the main event came, I was all hyped up for it, but I was a bit burned out. And then at the end, I would just burn out. And then I got a girlfriend, and I was working out and eating better, and I had a more balanced life, and I was living there. I was friends with Gus Hansen, and he was staying with me. He was just getting into poker, and I was teaching him poker.
Mm-hmm.
And he came and sweated me, and I gave him a little piece of me, and and I won it, but like we went to play, we were playing racquetball or squash. You know,
Squash.
squash and racquetball. He was a racket player. I was never good at those games, but we would like, get up and eat with my girlfriend and go play the squash. And it was a nice balanced day. I wasn't playing too much, during the tournament, and uh, I had the energy. The day that I played the main event, we went to play the squash and we showed up like a few minutes late to the tournament. And Jack McClellan said it's too late. We started at noon. It was like
Oh no.
12:35 or something. He's like, you can't get in. And then the I just got so it was this look of anguish on my face. He saw how sick I was that I wasn't gonna be able to play. He's like, we can squeeze you in somehow. He felt so bad. If I hadn't made that face, if
How
you
have I
hadn't
never heard that story? That's great.
so I was like,
Wow.
I was the last person in, and I wasn't gonna get in, and then he changed his mind and just stuck me in, even though it was kind of against the rules, I guess. I mean, he
Weren't even
first he
supposed to
said
be
no.
there.
Wasn't supposed to be in because like it started at noon. If you weren't in there at noon, you just couldn't play. Nowadays, you can buy in on day 2 or
Sure,
whatever.
yeah.
But
It was like
so yeah,
Lee Jones told us that Greg Raymer story, remember?
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
They were running like round the clock satellites on Poker Stars, and like they had this deadline, this hard deadline to like get the cash to Vegas or whatever. Like they had to stop the satellites at some point, like
mm,
to get everybody signed up or whatever. And then it was like 2 in the morning or something. They were like, all right, that's the last one. And then for some reason they were getting like all these emails to like just one more. Can you just run one more mega satellite on Poker Stars? Just one more. And then they're like, all right, we'll do it. And that's the one that Greg Raymer won.
oh
And
really?
he won his seat and won the
Interesting.
tournament.
Same kind of a thing.
Yeah, just shouldn't have got in there. I mean, yours is a little bit more personal and had to be
Yeah.
there,
So
but
anyway, that year I decided, to just take things a little slower and pace myself, not try to get too many chips the
Right.
first day, and just hang in there. And so I was a little more careful of not getting broke early or not risking any of my chips and just slowly chipping up. And at the end of the tournament, Gus was like, he didn't really, he had no idea how to play no hole. He was just learning, but he was like, you were the only one that was playing the game of no limit hold'em in that tournament. Like I was just doing everything so different than everybody else.
How many days was the main event back in '96?
3
Three.
days. It was
Okay,
like 395 people, and it was 3 days.
that's
I
beautiful.
remember Doyle had I think he had bet on me to win
Hmm.
because, like, in those days, like, whenever there was on the 2nd day and 3rd day, whenever there was an all-in, Jack McClellan would, like, announce, like, "So and so's all in
Right.
against so and so," and, like, it was going on, and Doyle never heard my name. So he's like, "Well, he's never all in, and he's the chip leader. He's gonna win the tournament," like
The payouts were quite a bit different back then, and like I even
top heavy payouts,
yeah, like
40
even
40
when I
10.
first came up, they were not quite as extreme, but like very similar.
We even had some like 50% for firsts
Dude,
back then.
I saw one of your tournaments, and I can't remember which one. I'm sorry if I messed it up, but one of your first ones you won, the prize pool was like 75,000, and you cashed for like 40. Like, and second place was like 13 or something like that. Like, it's just such a different world. Even when I was coming up there, like it was a lot of like 40% like for first place, and like half and then half and then
Yeah.
half and then half.
I feel like they would just not post it. And then if it was close to 1,000,000, like if it was 700,000, they're like, oh, let's just give them a
Yeah.
million and give
Yeah.
second place 300.
So that's my question. Like, was it guaranteed a million, or not guaranteed, but like, was it just like, oh, we just want to make $1 million first because that's cool, or
Yeah,
is
I
that
think well, no, it was just always pretty top heavy tournaments back
yeah?
then. That's just how they did it.
Because like 395, so whatever. That's
And if
just
people
just
didn't
shy of 4 million prize pool, and
if people didn't want it to yeah. So they did I think it went a tiny bit extra top heavy because it wasn't
gotcha.
a little more than 40%.
Do you remember what second place was? I should have looked it up, but I'm more
Yeah, I don't
curious.
really remember
Okay.
now, but,
Yeah. Well, when you win, why would you?
uh,
What did I almost get?
Believe me, I remember when I first got into poker, and I was like, man, top heavy. That seems so bad because like, shouldn't you like funnel the money back in? And then I won my first tournament. I'm like, yeah, top heavy's great. Like I love it. Yeah. Maybe all the money should go to first place.
well, back then, people made a lot more deals because it was so
Yeah.
top heavy. So they made a deal. So I guess it's better that they just said, well, if you're going to make deals anyway,
Yeah.
we'll just make it more gentle and you don't have to make a deal. But
Did you make a deal, or at that point? I mean, you're already playing the biggest cash games in the world. I'm not saying $1 million doesn't change your life, but like, it doesn't move the needle a shit ton, I imagine.
I think I did make it some kind of a deal. I can't remember now. Well, it was funny because it was the only year that, I gave up a pretty good piece of myself in the tournament. I always just played on my own, and then that was the year that I gave half to David Gray and Howard Lederer, and so I only had
Oh,
half of
geez.
myself, so the year I won, and then because they wanted to make some kinda deal, we made a deal at some point.
What convinced you to give those two specifically? Like
Well, because I had gotten broke and they were staking
oh,
me in cash
gotcha.
games,
You know,
and
the
so
reason that we
it
all
was the right
get
thing.
I
people
mean,
to
I
buy
know
these.
why I give deals.
It was the right thing. I just wanted to give them a little something
Sure.
extra because they were putting me in the big cash games at the time. But when I was 23, I had decided I was going to just maybe quit. I was mulling it around what to do. Then I went back to poker. So I was 21. I was like, going to quit. I went back, but then I burned myself out when I was 23, and I got real depressed. And I just, there was an old backgammon player named Mike Sabatny. You ever heard of him?
I have heard of
He
him,
was
yes.
friends with Chip, and
Yeah.
he always gave me, Chip always gave the best advice, and he also gave really good advice. When I met him, he was in his 40s and I was 21, and he used to give me and Gus all the good advice. And he would always preach different things, and he would say, well, if you want to win at gambling, you have to have the 3 H's. You have to be happy, healthy, and hungry. And so I went through a bit of a depression when I was 23, so I just wasn't happy, and I just didn't win. I just was the best player, but I just couldn't win. So I kind of believed in those 3 H's after that. You ever heard of that?
I mean, I'm taking it home. I might write it on the mirror tomorrow. I mean, dead serious. I'm going through a pretty big downslide myself, and
And
I feel like I'm lacking one of those
you've also
as
seen a
well.
lot of people that had a bit of success and they're just not hungry anymore,
Right.
and they have the skills and they just don't seem to win.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe I'm missing
Happy,
two.
healthy,
Shit.
and
Fuck.
hungry. Happy.
I don't even know if I'm that healthy. I'm waiting on my blood results right now, actually. Shit, I might be missing all three. Damn it.
Happy, healthy, hungry.
Yeah. I do think I'm happy. I do think that. But anyway, okay.
I remember kind of my idols back in the day because poker was kind of similar to chess, and back in the day I would listen to some of those interviews of like Karpov and Kasparov and everything, and they would talk about what incredible cardiovascular shape they were in, and they would like cycle 3 hours a day during the tournament and run an hour a day, and they were incredible. They had to be in tip top cardio shape to maintain that level of mental energy to win the world championship of chess or whatever.
I do think that's important as
And
well.
especially like to win the main event now, it's 10 days. It's so grueling. Like you got much better shot if you're in tip top cardiovascular shape when the main event starts and you're not burned out from the other tournaments.
I mean, just sitting for that many hours a day is tough. But so
I think it's more about the mental output and what is it?
Sure.
In the older days, it was even more like it was even more hours. It was more grueling. But now it's a little more. That's why it's 7 instead of 5 or something,
Right.
because it's a little more gentle. And what is it, like 10 hours of play per day?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I think 5 2-hour
I think
levels
it used
seems
to be
right.
like
Or 5.
12.
Yeah, I used to
I can't remember. My first year was 2004, and I think
Was
can't
it 12
remember.
hours a day back then? I think.
I honestly can't remember. It was the last year. It was fully at Binion's, but it was my first year. I just can't remember. Not that much matters, but yeah, I agree with you. So speaking of which, I know you have been taking some time off poker here recently. I know you're getting back into it now. You envision yourself playing the main event ever again, or
Well, I have to play this year to get the Phenom
Yeah.
patch and win for Phenom.
There we go.
We haven't really talked much about Phenom, but that's the whole reason that I got back into poker because, first I was kind of like, I had done everything. I had won all of the different tournaments and events and cash games and learned all the different games. And I'm like, kind of done everything there is to experience in poker and nothing left to do, nothing left to prove. It kept me going. When I was kind of already about done with poker, the internet poker came up, and that was really fun. It was a different version of it, and I got good at playing 6 or 8 games at once, and all the multi-tabling, and that was really fun. But then once all that crashed and burned with the full tilt and everything, then I tried to keep playing poker, but then with all the politics of the home games and that was the kind of the last straw for me, and so I just kind of quit poker. It was a combination of the rake going up and the tournaments, rakes going up, and
a lot.
you couldn't. There was too much politics and people stealing the live ones and all the bullshit about the home games and then cheating in home games and people not getting paid. And I'm like, I don't really like this poker world anymore, and I've already played enough and done everything, so I'm just out. So I kind of quit then. And then every year I'd play 2, 3 times, and I'd come play a couple events at the World Series, at the Rio. It was so freezing cold in there, and it just wasn't a great experience.
Yeah.
And so I tried to kind of keep coming back to it, and nothing ever got me like real excited to come back to poker until uh, by just some random chance I had made this running bet with Matt. And because we had made the running bet, I got to know him a little bit. I tried the site, and then I just loved it. And I thought about the idea of the community-owned site and the crypto, the combination of the crypto and the poker, and him trying to solve all the problems of uh, the cheating and the real-time assistance and all that. And like, I really liked his vision for the site, and it was just a good feeling being a part of that. And just it finally got me back to poker. Like this is about 3 months ago.
Yeah, which
So
is beautiful. And like, I'm also a Phenom ambassador. I'm sure everyone knows by now. Art as well. Our table one is as well. But yeah, it's a beautiful idea, and I think it can be done. Like a lot of people I've talked to about it in the initial stages 2 years ago, it was a lot of like, yeah, but, and like after a while though, like they've shown persistence, and they're really trying to do what their mindset was trying to make it as fair as possible, get rid of all the cheating, all the bullshit, and just let it be owned by the actual people that are playing the sites.
yeah,
If there's a discrepancy, they listen to you. You basically get shares of the company like every time you play, and it means something. Like I truly believe in it too, and I not just saying that just because I just happen to be an ambassador of it.
it's good for poker.
It really is.
If it works out, of
Right.
course. I mean, you never know what's going to happen, but
Sure. And like I don't know enough to
great
know.
idea. It's a great experiment. It's a great project. It's
Right.
you know, everybody involved is a poker player, and they want it to be good for everyone and good for poker. So
So you guys check it out now. I'm assuming you're gonna plug in something at some point.
If those ones come in the first 20 minutes, guys.
Shit. Sorry.
I've never been one to market myself or brand myself
Yep.
or advertise. And I really didn't even want to be a Full Tilt ambassador, but I was very good friends with Howard, and he really wanted me to do it. And I kind of needed the money anyway. And so I did kind of feel like I was selling out a bit to I never really wanted to be a part of advertising or branding, and I didn't like capitalism. But
Did you ever do one of those Full Tilt commercials? I know. I don't know
I
if you
wasn't
ever.
in any of the commercials.
Okay.
No,
Were you just a red line pro then, or were you like a full ambassador of Full
I
Tilt?
had just got moved up to the full ambassador like a month before everything crashed and
I
burned.
got you.
So
All right.
I got moved up, and I was just like, please let this go on for like 2 more years.
And it's gone.
It didn't even last a month. So,
I signed an ambassadorship for Ultimate Bet about the same time you signed with Full Tilt.
oh yeah,
Yeah, and like it wasn't even that big of a deal. Like whatever, I was promised something throughout the year, and then like an upfront bonus, and then like the site crashed. And
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I just whatever. I'm an ambassador. Like, can I get my money, please? And it was like, yeah, it's on your account. I was like, yeah, okay. Can you liquidate that and give it to me? They're like, oh no, it's just on your account. By the way.
Yeah.
Like you're not actually
Take
going to get
cash
it,
out, sir. You can get it.
that's when it crashed and burned.
Yeah, exactly. It was great. I was.
It was amazing. It was glorious. I don't know.
No.
I always liked Full Tilt because to me it was kind of like the players were starting the site. It was just that, there wasn't enough people with business acumen to like run it the exact right way. And I still think, if the government hadn't gotten involved, that it would have just been fine. It's not, I don't know. That's just my opinion of what I saw from the outside looking in. But, I'm an idiot.
So what's happening in
podcast.
I've been out of the poker world for like 10 years. I haven't really been paying attention to anything. I mean,
Wow.
how much has it changed in the last 10 years?
You've got 30 seconds. Update him on the last 10 years.
What are some of the big things that happen or changes or,
I think like the biggest upside in poker has been Poker Go and Carry Cats, just in general, because like I think that exposed this new fun personality thing. Which the reason I got into poker was in 2002. I got turned on WPT, and like it was one of like 40 players, and I got to see 6 of them at the final table almost every single time, and they were characters and they were fun to watch, and it was just like
So the TV is what got it in for you.
For sure, yeah. And like it was before the moneymaker for me. Like,
and then after Poker Stars and Full Tilt crashed and everything, they weren't making the TV shows anymore, and there was a lull of shows. But then Carrie Katz brought it back.
sure, like it was just it got so diluted. There was no more characters. It was just like this guy, this guy, this guy. They all look the same. They all play the same. No one cares. And then Carrie Katz somehow, and I didn't think this was going to work. I remember him talking to me about it, and I was like, I don't think that's going to work. But he raised the price of the buy-ins to the point where they got to create people you can root for and root against at the same time, because you get to see the same people in all these tournaments. Not everyone can afford $50,000 buy-in, so you just see the same 50, 100 people every single time.
So like Alan Keating, for example, he's kind of a big high stakes personality.
Right. Like Kerry did more in the tournament sector, where I do think Keating and the stream shows have done a job of that in the cash game sector as well.
I think the vloggers too, like the
Sure,
barrier to
yeah.
entry to be able to like just put something out and see if people like it. Like
I haven't watched any. I heard there's some very popular poker
there's
bloggers now, and they're maybe not even good players, but they just have this personality. And
a lot of what they did, or at least the most successful ones, are they're like, hey, I'm like learning poker, kind of ride along with me. And they were like film their stuff, and like they're making mistakes or whatever, and they're trying to like get better and talk about how they're screwing up and stuff like that. And everybody has a different kind of spin on how they do their content.
So some of those have gotten pretty popular.
Oh yeah, there's like a couple people with hundreds and thousands of followers, and they
What's
get
the
like,
most followers any of those guys vlog or poker?
it's gonna be Wolfgang, right? Like, well, you don't know. Yeah.
How
Sorry,
many?
there's
Too old, man. I don't know. Wolfgang,
I think
Brad
Wolfgang has 1
Owen.
million followers, and
So if he has 1 million followers and he's doing a stream, how many people are really watching at any one given time on average, would you say?
that's good. On YouTube, it shows like how many views. So like Brad Owen has been around for probably like 5 or 10 years now, and his videos, like an average video, get like 300,000 people watching it, which is
That's a lot, yeah.
yeah, and that's letting guys like him get onto like Hustler stream or like these types of things, and then people watch that because they want to see this guy. Not to mention everybody just wants to watch the game anyway, so it's kind of like a multiplier effect, I guess, with all these people.
And
built.
it becomes like a multi-season show where you started out watching the guy when he was terrible, and now he's gotten better. Now he got onto the Hustler
He's
game.
playing big games, yeah,
kind of a big game, yeah.
I started watching Rampage when he was,
yeah, right, exactly.
He's still gonna right.
Right.
But
He's
but-
welcome in our game anytime.
yeah, but like I think those are the two biggest things. Like I'm glad you brought that up. Like the streaming, and then like more kind of just making heroes and zeros out of a smaller player pool, so people can actually attach themselves to like personalities. And I think that's what drew people into poker with the moneymaker boom. And like
What
they had a
drew me
small
in was the characters before,
Exactly.
like
And
the
like they-
Pearsons and the
right.
Doyles and all that,
Little
but they
Sammy Farha
drew
with the
so many
cigarette.
people in, like it became so diluted. Like you couldn't root for anybody because you didn't really care. Like it was just another 24-year-old white guy from California. It was just like, okay, whatever.
Wasn't it Germany or something?
Yeah, or Germany, or yeah, Germany for like 3 years. I mean, the all those guys as well. But like now, I think it's getting back more into the character-driven like narrative, which I think helps. Whether you want to call it a sport or a game doesn't much matter, but like helps the product, and like to try to drive it away from the gambler / maybe someone's scummy, maybe someone's not narrative, to like, oh, this is a very skilled game. I like this guy. This guy fucking sucks. I'm gonna root for him. I'm gonna root against this guy. I think that's what draws people in.
Yeah.
And I think we're getting back into a good spot in poker, or have been getting into
Well,
a
the
good spot.
pandemic helped a lot, kind of, right?
100%, yes.
Yeah.
And like, not to plug,
People weren't social enough in the pandemic. Now that helped the social game.
and for sure. I mean, we had Victoria Lifshitz on. I don't know if you even know who she is, but like she
No.
got in. She's started and sold a dozen businesses. Incredibly smart woman, and she's started watching poker, and she just loved the game and loved watching the characters. And she's like, I want to play. So as soon as pandemic ended, she literally drove to Vegas. First tournament was a 25K World Series event. She has plenty of money, and she's like, 25K. I just want to play with the guys I want to play with. Like, these are the people I want to meet. And she ended up making friendships and started another business through that, Octopi Poker, I believe.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a training site, I heard, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. I think Matt said something about working with them.
Yeah. It's again, like yeah, pandemic definitely helped. And like, I do think Phenom is doing a really good thing now. We spoke about it briefly before we started filming, I believe, about if you are streaming, you can actually put an icon next to your name, and if you
Yeah,
click on it, it takes you directly to their live stream, and it's
yeah.
amazing. You can like literally be playing against a guy. He'll tell you his strategy, how he's gonna play against you, and you can just listen and watch at the same time. You don't get to see the whole cards or anything like that, but like I think it's a genius
Well, they
idea.
do, don't they show the whole cards on a delay?
Yeah, right.
There's
It's
2
just on a
ways to
delay.
do it.
Yeah,
There's one that's totally live and never hold cards, and then
yeah.
there's one that's delay. Which is better, do you think?
I like the delay personally.
Yeah,
Uh,
'cause it's much better if you get to see the hand.
the ride along is always going to be better. Like that's how like one of the reasons poker blew up as well beyond
Was
the
the showing the
characters.
cards.
Of course, like the way you can yell at your TV and like
I mean,
fold.
like
What are you doing? Just fold. It's okay. Like it's just top pair. I mean, that's how my mom critiques every time I play when she watches me.
she
like
doesn't care when you win with bottom pair and make a hero call.
yeah.
It's just
Like,
makes fun of you.
I remember the first time I made a final table of the 25K WPT championship, 2009, 10, something like that. And super excited. And I told my mom, I was going to air it this time. I didn't tell her where I finished. I didn't finish 5th or 6th. I can't remember. And she's just like, well, I understand why you would re-raise, but like, I don't know why you would ever call with that hand. He had a better hand than you. Why wouldn't you just fold? I'm like, Mom, I didn't know. She's like, I know, but I knew that he had a better hand. I was like, because you could see the hand. She's like, no, I knew that way before I saw the hand. And it's like, that's the kind of,
with your mom when you were little.
no, it was, my mom actually is a really good backgammon player.
Oh, really?
But that being said, my dad was a games player. It was chess, gin, spades, hearts, cribbage, everything like we could get our hands on. It was all
Yeah,
those.
so were you ever any good at chess?
I think I peaked around the age of 10.
How good were you?
I never got rated. I played a few tournaments and I did quite well. But
You were a little chess prodigy, but you just
Off into
prodigies.
gambling and drinking.
I think I just found people I could beat. Maybe I don't really know. I
wouldn't
wouldn't
go to a tournament or anything.
Oh no, I play against a couple buddies of mine now, and they kick my butt. But I like that. I like thinking about that part of it. But I think I just got too big into sports, in all honesty, and I kind of left the chess behind. Just found the other competitive because going to middle school and being like, I can beat you in chess is a little dorkier than going into like, I bet you I could beat you in basketball. Like,
That's why we became poker players, because it was like a little cooler than Magic the Gathering.
But then the Magic Gathering players started playing poker and beat us all.
Yeah,
that is exactly true. Actually,
All right.
Yeah.
Well, we're running low on time. Anything else you wanted to touch on? You're going to play a full schedule with the Phenom patch on, a patch for every tournament that you play this year. You got a big summer plans?
yeah. No, I'm just riding this high of being passionate about the Phenom project. It got me back into poker again. I've been enjoying playing on there a lot. I like the characters on there. I like the community. And so, yeah.
What do you play on there? The mixed games one?
Everything,
Everything?
I mean,
Dude.
yeah.
there's
Hey.
all kinds of games.
Like 6-card PLO high-low we play, and then a lot of just the mixed games with the Drama Doogie, Drama Ha, Deuce to
Is it
Seven,
just Huck Seed? Like if people want to play with you on there and see your name, it's just
Huckleberry Seed.
Huckleberry Seed. There you go. You can play with them on there. And you don't have like social media or anything that you like to?
Well, I mean,
Oh.
I'm going to try the streaming. I'm going to try to learn
Yeah.
the streaming and the little clips. I guess when you do a stream, it turns out to be 100 different clips that go on TikTok and Instagram, and someone can see a little clip, and then they eventually come to watch the stream, and then next thing you know,
That's the
they
idea.
win the
Like trailers for a movie.
I've heard rumors about that. I've done none of that. Like, by the way, this
Yeah,
is
it
all
doesn't just do it automatically.
this is all
as it
art.
turns
Art,
out.
art does literally all our social
you-
outreach, all the everything. I literally show up and I just talk. And
What year did you say you got 2000 of the 25K WPT championship? 'Cause Joe Bartholdi won that the year after? or
no,
the
he was
before?
before me.
was
I'm
before
pretty
you.
sure. Yeah,
'Cause he told
it
me,
was like Mortensen, him.
I got him onto Phenom, and he told me that he's trying to get into the streaming, and he said that Jungle Man is really good at like the little clips and things, and he's working.
Right.
He knows how to break it all down, and he's doing pretty good with the.
Yeah, it's definitely an art, which I don't have any talent whatsoever. Thank
Hey,
God I have art.
You say
Like,
a lot of funny clips though, and it makes for a good time.
but yeah, like I hope Joe Bartoli does. We had him on our show like 6 months ago. He was
Yeah, he told me
amazing.
that.
Like we had Jungle Man on. He was fucking amazing. Like I hope everyone you know,
I
does
just hope
all that
Jungle
stuff.
Man starts his show, Judge Jungle.
Dude,
He, like,
Judge Jungle would be great.
where's a little
Just
no scamming in my poker room. The gavel.
like an 1860s like British wig. That'd be
In,
nice.
Jungle Washington. Yes.
Yeah. Jungle Washington. Very nice.
Okay, cool. Well, this was
That's
fun.
good. I don't know anything else.
No, this has been great, Huck. Seriously.
I bet you can't.
Wait, can I-
Wait,
Should we make a prop bet here? On,
yeah.
Oh Jesus.
I mean,
I feel like anyone I'm going to make, I can't win. But
I bet
sure.
you can't get through an entire episode of the Table One.
I bet you can't even watch this one.
well, I like to make prop bets to motivate myself to
Yeah.
do something that I wanted to do
Well,
anyway. What do you want? What is something that you've been struggling to do that you want to do, or some kind of goal or possible goal?
Win at poker.
Something that a bet could motivate you to get done, or
No,
bet him that he won't like study poker because he won't.
no, I do. I actually
Oh, you
watched.
haven't? Oh.
Well, studying's like,
so he's going to have to go in front of people and just list off all these things he memorized about the
Yeah.
different.
no, I don't want to do that.
That's
Like,
no good.
I don't. When I say I study, like I watch a lot of the high stakes streams, not the ones that people aren't trying, like with the recreational players, but the ones that's highly competitive.
You watch the streams, so
Yeah.
it might be a trivia contest where you can come up with what did this guy do in this situation.
Well, I mean, I'm hoping I can apply it to real life and I can actually make money. I don't know, like maybe like just a ROI bet for like tournaments played in the summer or something like that. Like, I mean, I would be willing to do something like that because like I think that would drive me to actually.
the tournaments, so maybe just like a bracelet bet thing.
That's fair. That's fair. But like, like I'm still going to play the win a handful.
One time
of
I bet a
tournaments.
guy he had to lose. I had to win. I had to win a. What was that? The F tops or W
Oh,
coops?
They're
The
both
Poker
things.
Stars
Yeah.
ones.
The Poker Stars was
W-Coup.
W
Or
Cube
Scoop.
and Scoop. Yeah.
So I had to win one of those, either one. I had to win a bracelet on, or like I had to win a tournament on one of those in a year's time, and he had to lose like 60 pounds or whatever. Some tournament player that was overweight.
All right.
Well, I knew he wasn't going to lose the weight. You know? So I was kind of
Free roll.
rolling, but then I got heads up in a Badoogie tournament and lost. So I didn't win either.
So nobody won.
Nobody won. But
Hmm.
so you want to win? You want to win a bracelet this year?
I mean, well, I'm not saying that.
How about you just cash the main event?
Shut up, Art.
You've never cashed the main event.
I've
How many
cashed it
times you've played the main
3
event?
times, I think.
No.
3 times or twice? Twice.
I think you said you have 2 min cashes.
Yeah,
How
It's
many
all gonna
tries?
get edited out. This
No, I'm pretty sure it's
We're
twice.
wasting your time here.
No, it's
Oh, this is
Easier
going
for
to be
us. It's fine.
main material here.
No,
Actually,
I think this part is going to get edited out.
no. So my first year was 2004. I believe that was the Raymond year, maybe 2003. I can't remember. I think 2004.
yeah, 3.
And I played every year since then, even like during the COVID years. So I played every single year, and I have 2 min cashes.
You're
I
not
think.
happy with your main event performance.
He's not.
I mean, I might be the biggest loser in WSOP history main
Right.
event.
You don't have that third H. Happy.
I'm a happy person, but yeah, just when I look at the main event
You need a
specifically.
coach. You need a coach to get you.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, you're main
I
event
am-
champion.
How many
And my-
tokens are you willing to give up for this coaching here?
Dude, those things
I
are
just
going to be
want female
valuable. I don't know about that.
We can make a coaching deal here.
Okay.
I'll-
A phenom token bet? I
if
like
he-
that.
Based
Although you
on his
can't transfer
performance
them
in the
to
main.
each other.
If I coach him to like a final table in the main, then I get a certain
Hmm.
number of his phenom tokens.
I don't think you're allowed to transfer them though.
No,
That was part of
You
the
can
whole
cash
main
them out and
feature.
then transfer them.
Yeah,
we
but
can
then
lock
you
him
don't-
into we can talk to Matt.
Yeah, there. He'll help you.
Yeah. Put them in the vault. But no, I actually that's good. Yeah, something along the WSOP main event. And I bet you we can.
You wanna
Can we
win the
film
main
that
event.
too? Use that for some content?
Yeah,
Get-
we can figure something out. Whether it's
Are you willing to quit drinking? Or willing to
So-
drink more during the tournament? Do you quit drinking during the tournament?
no, I drink more.
more.
Yeah, and like that's
You just
It
need
works
a
on the
dose of
3-day
salt.
tournaments.
well. The problem is
That's the
like
problem.
tournaments,
You can't drink through a 10-day tournament and win, right? I mean, it's tough.
and that's fair. 10-day tournament, I agree with, but like I do think
Some of those old school players that I play with, like they would be like, there was a few of them that they were just the greatest no limit hold'em players on beer, like 4 through 6, you know.
Right.
But then before and after that, they were too tight or just too crazy. You know?
no, that sounds familiar.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair. But no, I've kind of found my stride when it comes to that kind of
You need a
stuff.
special tournament where it just goes each day between beer 4 and 6, and then you come back the next day, beer 4 through
Dude, yeah.
6.
As soon as everyone drinks their 6th beer, all right, we're done for the day, guys. Felicia over there,
they
she just
don't-
finished her 6th beer. All right,
They
we're done.
don't- No, they don't get to drink. Only
Only
everybody plays
geez.
when you're on beer 4 through 6. You'd be a huge favorite.
I would win every bracelet, I think.
Yeah, you would.
What about you, Huck? You got something you're working towards that you want to bet on?
What about you?
Fuck, what about me? I want to. What do I want to do? That's a good question.
Wow.
I'm stumped. I don't really have any
You're
goals.
just perfect, huh? You're just
No,
absolutely
No,
perfect.
I just don't have any goals. I just
No,
kinda
come on. You want to do
float
something
along.
with the product, right? I mean, that's kind of your like main goal lately.
Yeah, I guess there's something with I don't know. I hate to say like something with virality or like content, but we're gonna do this. I mean, we haven't really announced it yet, but we're gonna do this summer series where we follow around 6 people from the Table One game, not necessarily in the Table One game, but like whatever they do all summer
People
long.
that you've interviewed and then go to the World
No,
Series and follow them
like
around?
our game that we have.
People
well,
that
some of
play
them-
our game
Oh,
consistently.
that game. Okay.
Yeah. So like Chino has been on this podcast, but he also plays our game, but mostly he's going to be focused on tournaments, right? So he's going to be part of the 6 kind of like a poker reality show for the summer
Mhm.
where we follow around.
So that's your goal.
Well, yeah, I want to make that
But
I want to make that
I
good.
think you've got that already. You don't need any extra motivation. On that.
Yeah, I think I'm going to be motivated to do
Yeah.
that no matter what. Maybe maybe play good. Try to stay between beer 4 and 6 and not
too.
go past that.
Yeah. No,
Beer,
not
beer-
that I'm bragging or anything like that. As long as I compare myself to Art, but like I think I'm better at drinking and playing than Art is. Not saying I'm better poker player than
Well,
Art
they
is,
have the.
but like better at controlling myself between.
They have the. Maybe you guys should get into this. They have a beer mile where people have to chug a beer every lap. So they chug a beer, they run a lap, and then there's this like little corridor where they have to finish the beer in this like little 10-meter corridor, and the world record is like 4:30 for the mile.
You lost me at a
chug
run.
beer.
I lost me at running. That was what I was
Like,
thinking.
I
We
mean,
can't run. Our ankles are broken.
Yeah.
but it's. No, you can run. I mean,
I'm physically.
broken ankles, huh?
Yeah, I was born with club feet, and they had to surgically. And he is also fucked up foot wise.
Yeah.
Well,
Also
I see
had-
you had a surgery there on your ankle.
Yeah.
There, but.
a few. Yeah. So, we're yeah, I don't know. We could figure something out
You're
with
gonna
like
have to
drinking
walk.
and like something intellectual, like maybe like doing like a mental puzzle,
You guys have to walk.
chugging a
yeah,
beer.
Your feet don't work. You have to walk on your hands. Then
Yeah, a
mile.
hand mile.
you have to walk a mile on your hands.
Now we have no
stopping.
excuses.
What's your time to walk a mile on your hands? You want to use your legs. You got to use your hands.
I think I'd prefer my feet now.
I had a bet with a guy in college. He walked a lap on his hands and beat me the bet.
Jeez, that's
He's
impressive.
Like, I bet you I can walk a lap.
I think I could do it in like 5 or 6 days.
My brother was a wrestler in like high school, and like he would go downstairs, upstairs. He was
Walking on his hands.
Yeah,
Yeah. People can do some crazy stuff.
that's
on their
amazing to me.
hands, but
I've
if you
never
do it
done a
like that, then
handstand.
It might make you want to walk or run more.
Yeah,
I'm
fair.
tired of walking on these hands. I'm just gonna try my broken ankles again.
All right, I'm gonna lose 10 pounds by the main event. How about that?
There you go.
That's
It's
a
not a
good
lot.
motivation.
It's
You
achievable.
can do that in the next
Shut
hour.
up. Shut up. 10 pounds for me is
Dude.
a lot.
I got a knife in the car. Let's go.
All you have to
What are you gonna cut off my dick?
sweat. All you have to do is sweat for like 3 hours.
Okay, well I got to keep it off.
There
I'm
was
not
a
gonna
guy-
sweat
Yeah,
it off
how about keep it off? Yeah, how
There
about
was
that?
a guy who
till my
bet.
birthday.
There was a guy who bet that he could lose 30 pounds in a day and gain 30 pounds in a day, and then the next day he had to lose 30 pounds the first day. He had to weigh in. Then the next day he had to weigh 30 pounds less. Then the next day he had to go back up 30 more pounds back to where he was.
Do I know who this
He's-
person is?
Mark Spirit was his name. He was an old school stud player, but he was a bodybuilder, and he was also like had friends that were boxers, and he learned from the boxers how to like make weight and gain the weight back.
That's bananas.
And so he lost 30 pounds, and then he gained it back the next day. He won the bet.
Wait, he won?
Yeah, he said it was the easiest.
That
thing.
shows you how like
But
cutting
he's
weight.
talking about losing 10 pounds by the world.
Yeah, stop being a
This
little
guy
bitch.
lost 30 pounds.
Stop
in a
asking me
day.
what my goal is and then making fun of my goal. I'll just put my bankroll in my pocket, and then
You
by the
guys
end
aren't-
I'll have lost 10 pounds.
You guys aren't really in the spirit of these prop bets, are you?
Yeah,
No.
no, I'm not gonna run backwards for 3 days or
Prop
whatever.
bet is to do something to
Yeah.
sort of like raise yourself to something you didn't think you could do.
That was my answer
Losing 10 pounds by the main event. That's
without Ozempic.
Yeah.
How about increasing like
You know what, Huck? I'm gonna find something for us before.
We'll think of a prop.
Yeah,
bet.
we'll figure something out.
I'm
It's
good
like,
at thinking up these prop bets.
yeah, no shit. Yeah,
But
you're the king of it.
All right. Is that it? Is that the pod?
Oh,
Yeah, no
Sure.
prop bets on this podcast.
yeah. I don't want to commit myself to anything right now. All right.
Okay.
I mean, we can keep going. We can noodle on this for a little while.
I need
No,
to
like,
go. I need to
we're
go
in
run.
contact. Don't worry. Like I play with Huck. Well, until like the last like week or two. Like
We've been playing on the Phenom.
yeah,
you know.
we've been playing quite a bit. So they have a good chat box. It doesn't just say ... when you talk to people. It's nice. All right, that's probably the podcast, guys. All right.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you, Huck. Thank you, everybody.
Me and my buddy, we making all of this money. Yeah, I know it's rude to be bragging. They never catching us slacking.